And we're live. Hello, and thanks for tuning in. This is the SuperBoss Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Harrison Ngo, and I'm joined by Luc Tran
Hello.
and Ian Eatwell.
Ugh.
Dude, feels right. But here we talk about what's going on in the nerd world, ranging from movies, comics, to video games. And if you're a new listener, we start off by talking about what we've been up to lately and any cool news we've heard. But before we're jumping into our main topic, which today it's about static versus dynamic games, I'll probably go into detail later on. But what's up, guys? How's it going?
Dude, I said this just a second ago, but I ate an entire bag of those Airhead bites and a can of Red Bull. And while you're doing it, it's like, oh yeah, this is so tasty. Nom, nom, nom. And then like 10 minutes later, you're just like,
Do you have the shakes or something?
no, it's just my stomach is just. What is
See,
all this processed sugar you just?
If you always
dumped
eat
on me?
garbage, your body doesn't know any better.
Mm.
I just think
So
it's
it's
normal.
just okay
Yeah.
with it.
No, right. It like adapts to the fire that you're setting inside of it.
Becomes a garbage
Yeah.
dumpster on fire.
It becomes
Speaking of a
fire,
garbage
become-
dumpster on fire.
Oh no. Oh no.
No,
Yes?
it's not nearly as bad. But
Okay.
I've just been playing a lot of Division 2 lately because
Oh, okay.
it's usually like if I'm on during the day, since no
Mhm.
one else tends to be on, I'll just play that.
Yeah.
It's a game.
It's a is it because I remember when it first came out, and for those that don't know, Division's the Division 2, it's like an open world MMO shooter type of thing. Still? Is it still there?
It is an open-esque world semi-MMO looter shooter RPG thing.
There we go.
It is if it comes from Ubisoft,
Mhm.
and Ubisoft probably in the past, I want to say 4 years, has kind of known infamously for their games being these weird amalgamations of almost every single video game in existence.
It's like they pick and choose aspects of like
Yeah.
certain genres, and it just here's a Ubisoft.
Yeah,
game.
everything just turns into this
Explore
open world crafting light RPG self-insert story thing. And Division 2 is definitely that.
because I think
It's-
I bought it for cheap too.
Yeah, when it was out for $3.
Yeah, that's what it was. Trying to promote. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's I don't know if it's fun. It's something to do.
Mhm.
The more I think about it, the more I think why I'm just not playing Monster Hunter, but I think I'm just taking a break from Monster Hunter because I played so much lately.
Mhm.
But it's funny because people would always talk about another looter shooter MMO light type game, which is Destiny. They'd
Uh-huh.
always say, "Oh, the shooting it feels good," and like going to a different shooter game, which is Division, it makes a lot more sense.
Oh,
But
so it's like
partly, I think it's kind of cheating because Destiny is first person, while
Yeah.
Division 2 is third person. But
that's right.
shooting guns feels very.
It's like
clunky.
it's a cover shooter, right? Essentially, that's almost.
That's what it wants to be,
It
but
wants to be Gears of War.
it's not
Yeah.
a cover shooter really.
Hmm.
I don't know. There's a bunch of we can get back into it.
Yeah.
dives more
We'll
into our
probably
main
touch on it
topic,
later
but
with the topic.
I've been playing a more than normal amount of Division 2.
Okay.
So
Would you still play it, or is it just kind
yeah,
of
I'm
like
still
a-
gonna play it.
still-
Especially, I'm almost to the end game, which
Oh,
is
okay.
I feel like generally a lot of these looter shooter games kind of tend to be a slog until you get to the quote unquote end game.
Yeah. Then you could actually do builds and stuff.
Yeah, you're not just because I'm still at that point where if the gear I have is a higher level, I just automatically put it on, even if it's worse.
Yeah.
Just because it is a higher level piece of gear.
Hmm.
But once you hit end level, you actually have to like stop and think about what you want, which is more interesting to me.
Mhm.
Or more importantly, what looks the
What's
coolest.
Aesthetics.
Also true.
Is that all you've been playing?
I mean, it's the most interesting thing that I've been playing that
Oh, yeah.
everybody knows I usually don't play, because everybody knows I play Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
But
Break the mold. What about you, Ian?
Dude, shit, man. It feels like I've been playing everything. Mostly just because I picked up where I left off on a lot of different things and then ended up beating them all within
That's
like
right.
the past week. So I found out I thought I beat Dark Souls, but then I realized I hadn't beat Dark Souls because I wanted to go back and play like New Game Plus. So then I just beat the boss and I actually beat Dark Souls. I was like, all right, well, I'll just hop back into Dark Souls 2 then, since I just beat the first one. And I had left off like halfway through Dark Souls 2, so I beat it this past week. So I beat 1 and 2. And then I was like, well, since I'm playing all these Souls games, why don't I play a Souls-like game like Hollow Knight? And so I started playing Hollow Knight. And then I also started streaming Ori and the Blind Forest.
Oh, where can you find that stream?
Oh my god. Follow me on Twitch, twitch.com/Real Shake, REALSHAKE, or don't, nothing ever really happens.
Oh, committed.
Yeah, you're right. But yeah, But yeah, so I've been playing that. It feels like a lot of Dark Souls. I'm just kind of realizing that.
why aren't you playing Dark Souls 3?
I guess I just wanted like enter something different between like a little space time,
Gotcha.
spacey.
A little bit of 2D action.
Yeah. I really loved Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight's really fun. And I watched it a little bit way back when it was first came out years ago. But I ended up like I only watched a little bit of it because I was like, oh, that's a game that I'm gonna play eventually. And like I don't know how many years that's been out, but that many years later, here we are.
And you're not done with it yet, right?
No.
It's such a big game. I don't know.
It's pretty massive from what I'm finding out. Yeah.
Do you think you're gonna get a Silk Song at some point, or do you think Hollow Knight is enough?
I don't know. I think I would have to get to the end to see. I've heard a lot of good things about Silksong though, so we'll see.
Yeah, because I mean, it was originally supposed to only be a DLC, and then it's like, oh, they're just adding so much.
Yeah, just make it its own
content.
standalone
Oh no, this is
game.
its own game.
Yeah, right. Which is pretty cool. I don't know. I'm not somebody who, because like I played Moonlighter, and I thought that was really fun, but I probably won't get the DLC just because I'm not. I don't know.
You've gotten what you wanted out of it.
Yeah, I guess I'm not. I don't know. I never really find a lot of motivation to do DLC stuff.
But this is more like this is its own standalone game now, though.
That's true. And so yeah, I might. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I might pick. I'll probably get.
but I guess finish
eventually.
Hollow Knight first.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I mean,
I still need to work on that.
I probably will. I'll probably pick it up.
Yeah, I still need to work on that too. That's on the list.
Yeah,
like seeing you play it, I was like, ooh.
You feel that itch.
Feel that itch.
Yeah, that's and Monster Hunter, of course. Yeah, that's about it. What about you, Harrison?
So last time you were talking about how you were playing Ori, and one night I was just like done with studying, almost done. Holy shit! But I was just like, you know what? Like, my girlfriend was just studying on her own, but she was like actually like super like focused, hyper focused, and I was just like brain dead. So I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna try to play something on my Switch that's not Animal Crossing. So I just went through my my list of games, and I was just thinking, oh, okay, what should I play? And I kept thinking, oh, maybe Ori. No, I don't have that on here. Ooh, I should play Celeste some more. And then it was funny because we were talking about how I think Luke was saying how tight. We were talking about how what was it? What's the game? Battle Block Theater wasn't. You were saying how it wasn't super tight. While I just remembered you saying that, and then playing Celeste, it just reminded me like this is a really solid. It has really solid controls, like super basic. Like
Yeah.
you only have two, I think, buttons that you mainly worry about, and then just movement and then trigger. But it's like the controls are very simple.
Broken down. Yeah. It's broken down to like very simple mechanics, but the depth of which you use those is
it's
awesome.
So I actually made progress. I finished the world. Then I realized I was like halfway through, so I just finished it out, and I'm making progress. So I'm probably gonna play that occasionally, because now Animal Crossing is just I technically finished the quote unquote story, and I can terraform now. I just don't know how to make what I want to do with my island.
Right.
And then
dude.
yeah,
Sorry, going a little tangent about that. There's a speedrunner streamer that I watch. Named Grand Pooh Bear, and he and then like a few other streamers were doing a it's like Survivor, like the reality TV. They basically did a stream show of that, but in Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing?
Yeah.
Really?
So like a girl like hosted it. One of the streamers hosted it, and I think it's her stream name's Dragon Feeny, I think. So yeah, she hosted it, and then they had like the red team and the blue team, and then they like set up these little like cameras and like a confessional session where like one person would like run off and like go do a confessional, and she like had all these like activities planned. Like it was really cool. The whole thing was great. It was really funny to see. And
it's
like
crazy.
they all had like they were all streaming at all at different times, so different people's chats were like interacting, and it was great. It was great.
Now I've seen my girlfriend did this too in Animal Crossing, where one of her friends made a maze on their island, and you would just invite people, and people would run through the maze to try and get the prize. Whatever. And it was really a lot of people are doing some really cool things with Animal Crossing, not just like fun games, but I've seen someone basically change the entire aesthetic of their island to be almost like a Japanese suburb.
Oh
And
yeah, I
so,
think I saw that.
like,
Wow.
there's the even like the ground has stone pavement, and the walls have that aesthetic of like the tiling and the roofing. Or someone just wants to make a giant flower field, and so they just literally dig up everything and just plant flowers.
I think someone made like I forgot which Zelda, but they made the world that.
Oh yeah, I saw
Did you
that.
see that? Yeah,
They copied the original. I think it was Link to the Past.
I think it was Link to the Past too. I think
pretty
that
dope.
was the one. But it was really cool to like just look at. Like, it's funny because my girlfriend's been she at one point she's just been looking up a lot of like islands just to get ideas of how she wants to make them, and then we just end up just getting sucked in and just watching all these different islands, and we're like, man, what the fuck do I do?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but yeah, just been playing that. Yeah, playing Destiny. It's
Are you
just
done
kind of
with
like
finals, or is that this coming week?
I just finished one today. I finished the presentation Wednesday, so I have only one left. So I have like a week essentially.
What are you gonna play once you're
Dude,
done?
I'm
You're gonna be free.
you know what? I'm gonna be investing way more time in Final Fantasy. I'm gonna try to finish that as soon as possible because I want to like kind of give a quick review on that, because I know you've been because I know you mentioned the ending, and I think you wanted to talk about
I'm curious.
What
I want to go back and listen to that episode, and then we could just play
I
off.
didn't talk about it
what
too
we
much
thought.
because I didn't have much to say. I was like, I remember saying, "Oh yeah, this is really cool. I like the graphics. I like what they're doing with the battle system." But I wasn't that far from what I remember. Like me being further now. You know what? Yeah, I'm just gonna wait until I finish, and then I'll probably give a better review on that.
Nice.
Yeah, but that is probably
playing that this past week too a little bit.
Yeah, because I want to try it on the. I've been playing. I figured out how to stream it onto my computer because you can do PlayStation stream. I forgot remote play,
Yeah.
and it's just because my girlfriend's been studying, so it's just my way of like, oh, I can just make sure she doesn't fall asleep.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then I just get
reliability.
yeah. So just and it's my way of still trying to chip away at it. But by the time I want to play it, it's late at night and I'm dead tired.
Yeah,
And it makes me really upset.
I've seen you just like vegged out on the couch, just like with a blanket over you, like
I think yeah. I remember you walked out. You're like, "You good?" I was like, "Yeah,
yeah.
going to bed."
It's
But yeah,
funny.
that's gonna be the first game that I'm gonna work on right after finals. No doubt.
Hell yeah,
Hell yeah.
no doubt, no doubt.
No doubt. Yeah, but that's pretty much all I've been playing. I've kind of had more time now. I mean, I only had to study for one test, so it's kind of I've hit senioritis 2.0. It's really bad.
Jesus.
It's so bad. I still have one class, so it's like don't.
Just don't fuck up.
Yeah, essentially don't fuck up. But yeah, that's about it. Do we just want to move on to cool super boss shit that we've heard in the past?
I
We're
know
gonna-
exactly what
Yeah,
all
there's
three of us
probably
are
all three of
gonna
us gonna say the
I
same
think
thing.
we're all going to talk about Assassin's
Yeah.
Creed Valhalla.
Assassin's Creed
Yeah.
Valhalla.
Woo! Did
Actually,
I
I
Go
have
ahead, Ian.
something else too later on, but we can talk.
I
let's
kind of
talk
do
about this
too,
right
but
now.
this is the
Okay.
main. This is the big one.
Cool.
I mean, it's honestly the biggest piece of news I think we've had.
The last.
Actually, no, I do have. So I think, oh, I am gonna forget his name. The guy who was, I think he helped found E3. Jeff Keighley.
Jeff Keighley. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
he
Creed, Game Awards.
Game Award. Sorry, yeah. Jeff Keighley just announced his the Summer Game Fest.
Yes. I
Uh,
saw a headline of that. Do you know?
Yeah. Sorry,
Is
what?
there any? No, I was gonna say. Do you know any of the details on that
I mean, it's not nothing concrete now.
right now?
But
Okay.
I think it's mainly just because, a lot of the studios aren't working. All the conferences have been canceled. It's just,
Mhm.
it's his idea of, it's, I think, mainly to help spur on developers
Mhm.
to be like, don't get super upset. You still have a bunch of fans. It's going to be a cool way to celebrate what you have, and it's going to be a cool little debut. And I mean, he founded the Game Awards, so it's not like it's his first foray into doing some sort of show.
Right.
Like event planning, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be really cool, but it's something I heard that I think they made the announcement today, and it's
Yeah.
something to look forward to since E3 is canceled.
Right.
Yo,
I think that's cool.
it's like the website is like some kind of psychedelic acid trip. I like their aesthetic here.
I did see that headline, so I was gonna look into it a little bit later because I think I just saw it right before we started podcasting. So
Yeah.
and then besides the stats, because I know we're going to talk about that more. I also heard apparently, well, it ties with Assassin's Creed because Xbox is going to have their event next week. They're going to showcase their game or I think a gameplay. Oh, let me
Yeah,
see.
they're having gameplay of
Gameplay.
Valhalla,
Yeah,
but they're also debuting a bunch of other stuff.
yeah, a lot of other stuff. But I think
Cool.
the headline is Assassin's Creed Valhalla since that just got announced.
It's gonna be sick.
Next gen happening next week.
What are you going to talk about, Ian?
So it's just something interesting to me that excuse me, that interested me because I've only played like one Gears of War game, but
Oh,
I'm super into like strategy games and
Tactics.
stuff like that. Yeah, so Gears Tactics like just kind of came out, and I guess because I don't pay attention too much to Gears of War, not that it's not good, I just don't pay attention. It just kind of came out of nowhere, at least for me. So I was
I
like,
feel
oh,
like, yeah,
it's interesting.
Gears of War is a weird franchise to me because the first two I remember were like really big deal on the release, especially the
Mhm.
first one.
The first one for sure.
Come the third, I think a lot of like the third, it still has its fans, obviously, but I don't know as many people who got Gears of War 3 than I do 1 or 2.
Yeah, I agree with you. I remember in high school, a lot of us I remember hearing more about 2. And when 3 dropped, it was like there was hype, but I remember there was like a lot of jokes about it too. But no, yeah, I think 2 is just more fun. Or I just remember 2 more. I don't know.
Yeah. I was interested, and it looks interesting too, and it seems like it's getting some good feedback.
Oh. Yeah, I see it now. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like, and I love like XCOM and those kind of games like that, so.
Oh, I might give it a shot because I have it on my Game Pass.
Oh, sick. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it looks like XCOM. That looks really cool.
Yeah, it's basically just XCOM, but with Gears paint.
Yeah.
This looks cool. Might look into it too.
Yeah.
Huh. Neat.
Very neat.
But the coolest thing this week.
Did all of you guys watch the trailer?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Did you read? I think there was a Eurogamer article talking more about the game itself.
Yeah, it started talking more about.
Did you guys happen to read that one as well?
I did get to read that. Yes.
I read an article about it. I don't know if it was that one, but I like skimmed through some points about it and stuff. Yeah.
I'm curious to hear. Like, so Harrison is a big fan of the way Assassin's Creed's been, like the trend it's been going to this open world RPG. And I'm kind of the fuddy-duddy who liked it when it was old school.
I mean,
what
that's
about
like
you,
half
Ian?
the fan base, though, I will say.
Yeah, like, do you have a foot in either camp of how you like Assassin's Creed, or you just like the franchise? I know you like the franchise, but like, do you care either way?
I fucking love the story and the history and the lore around it and all that. In terms of like the games and the gameplay, I really loved Brotherhood.
Solid.
Yeah, like that was great. 1, I think I liked 1, and I think looking back, like I enjoyed it because it was something
1 is very
completely new.
special.
One
It's
was
just it's kind of dated in terms of just overall game design.
Yeah.
But
it was. But I remember, and
like when it came out, it was a very special game.
No, I remember this, Luke, was because I remember you were over at my house and you were like, dude, check out this trailer.
Yeah,
Like,
I remember it was E3 and I was like, you gotta watch this trailer.
You gotta watch the trailer. I'm like, okay, cool. And then we were watching it. I was like, wait, how is he able to just scale that building? Like, you can actually maneuver that. I think the tech, like the gameplay and tech behind it at the time was insanely dope.
Yeah, it was like a what is it? Like a
it was like a milestone.
Yeah, like like it broke into like a new area, a new territory of like game design. And
yeah, I think it was just cool to like see like a character and they just point out, hey, you can climb up this wall. Hey, that thing is sticking out. You can actually reach for it, and it's
like the Skyrim before Skyrim. We're like, you see that mountain, you can climb it, and then Saski's like, see this building, you can climb it.
You can climb it.
But so going back, I have felt this with every game though, and that's kind of why I got out of playing them. Was they are all repetitive in their in how it works. Like there's a target, you do these like side things to like get more information, and then you go assassinate the target.
The classic Ubisoft fashion.
Yeah, and you know, after a while, it's like, all right,
you're done.
Yeah. I mean, not that that's not fun, but I guess just for me, it's like after a while,
a lot of people have summed up where like the first 10 hours are great, but then you just keep playing the same 10 hours for the next 40 hours.
Yeah. And at some point, it's like I'm just playing this to see where the story goes.
Mm-hmm.
So That's
And I think
kind of
that
my
yeah, I mean, because I know the older ones were always like, oh, you have this area, you do all these tasks, and then you do the mission, or you just do the mission, and then to get the next one, you have to keep exploring and do tasks, and
right.
it's like, oh, you just open up the map. But
Yeah.
I will
And
say, did you play?
I was gonna say, that being said, I've only played the first, second Brotherhood, and I watched the third one, and then basically nothing after that.
You started 4 though, right?
Which that's Black Flag. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, like maybe years later, I
Oh yeah.
picked up
Like
the
you
fourth
recently.
one again.
Mhm.
Or I picked up the fourth one for the first time, and it was good. The beginning, I've only played the very beginning of it, which was more kind of the same stuff, but it was also just like, this is how you play the game kind of thing. And I remember I just got to like the boat section where you like get your own boat and you have your own crew and stuff.
Oh, you stopped there?
Yeah, so I stopped there, and so that's probably where it like gets vastly different. And so we'll see. I still plan on playing that one out. The reason I'm excited for that all that being said, the reason I'm excited for this one is because they were talking about your settlement and how the player would have like a hub that they'd be incentivized to go back to, and which kind of reminds me of why I liked Brotherhood a lot, was because you were like, you had your own
Yeah, the
your own
villa.
little areas. Yeah, you had your villa, you could like build it up, you had your assassin bros.
Mhm.
And so if that's kind of a similar vein with Valhalla, like get me in there. I want to go raid some. Let's go on our ships and raid night with the boys. Do some pillaging with
They
the
did mention
homies.
raids, I think, so that's a very big
Yeah, they're in the article they had mentioned that you
Yeah.
would raid castles for material and then
Hell yeah,
bring the materials back so you could upgrade your settlement.
Mhm.
I'm into it. That
Yeah, a
I
lot
like.
of people
There's something
are
about that I like.
expecting it. There's a lot of speculation because I want to say the head writer um, was also doing a lot of writing for BioWare,
Mm,
especially with Dragon Age Inquisition. A
mhm.
lot of people are expecting something like Skyhold from Inquisition, where it's like you have your fortress and all your
Mhm.
people, and then you can like visit the key companions you have
Yeah.
and do
Oh,
upgrades and
interesting.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just excited because the team that's making this game is the same one that did Black Flag, Revelations, and
Origins.
Origins. So those are the ones I like so far. So I have a feeling I'll be cool with it.
Sick.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm excited because it looks cool, but I'm also very tentative just because I mean you guys know my stance, but for our listeners, I really don't like the RPG aspects of where the game is going, and I think it's kind of a lost cause for me to expect that they'll ever go back to the more Assassin's Creed 2 Black Flag Unity style game.
Mm,
Because I think if you just look at it sales wise, Odyssey and Origins have done really well.
mhm.
mhm.
But
I
I'm not a huge fan of. I can forgive the RPG aspects part of it, um, but also just Ubisoft's game design lately. This is kind of exacerbated when I've been playing Division 2, where the map is really big, but there's not a lot to do that's
Mm,
like meaningful. That's like I kind of felt that with having only played maybe like 2 or 3 hours of Odyssey, which
mhm.
is nothing. Like I'm still on the tutorial island. There's just so much to the game that I
like
just
both of you have been like, oh, I played this, but I've only finished like how to play the game. I was like, damn it. It's like, damn
but I
it.
mean having played Odyssey, it's just the combat just feels wonky to me.
I
Yeah.
think you
I
just
don't
gotta
like
play
the
it
skill
more.
system.
Because I don't, and this is what kind of irks me on like reading some stuff online. It's like, oh, go back to how the old Assassin's Creed combat was. I'm like, so you like having to just sit there and wait to counter and then just have a string of kills that you just kind of click X X X X X. It's a power
See, and I
trip.
think part of it is maybe I had a different experience playing through the old Assassin's Creed games, but I was never like the only time I would do that, like run in, just push X, was when I was goofing off. Like when I was seriously playing the game, I didn't actively try and pick out fights. I would try and play as stealthily as possible. Where
because that's how I
in my
play.
opinion, the design of Origins and Odysseys push the game more to be action RPG, and so combat is a bigger portion of missions in general.
But you don't have to.
You don't have to, but then like if
Because
you
I
try
don't play like that.
this person's 2 levels above you, so you can't really stealth kill them.
Oh, I do though. It's satisfying because I try to. No, like I mean that's how I play, so that's why it's like kind of interesting to hear you say that because I actually try to avoid combat at all costs, clear out a fort without ever getting noticed, even if it's like a higher level, because I think that's even more of a fun challenge.
Yeah, like I'm not saying you can't,
Yeah,
because you totally can. Because like there's obviously like you have your melee, your ranged, and your stealth builds. Isn't that right? There's the 3 skill trees.
yeah. So essentially, the
Yeah,
range stuff. Yeah,
but, yeah. It's like I said, like maybe the game will feel better as I play it, but
hmm
I'm at least hoping they tone down the scope of the game for Valhalla. Because if the map is huge and you are sailing in your little longboat across rivers, it's gonna take a long time to like get anywhere. That it annoys me because another thing, I don't like fast traveling. I like to just go as the game intends me to go, and so when the map is as big as it is, it's kind of annoying to me. So it's just weird little nitpicks, but I think it's a lost cause for me to argue like they should go back to like the central city, and that's it.
because I guess I got tired of like playing every one of the games. I got tired of just having that city, and they just started filling it up. Like Unity, I actually don't. I hate the city design. I love the city. I just hate how they just fill it up with things that didn't matter.
Yeah, everything's just peppered like
Yeah,
do this 30-second interaction.
traversing it was dope. It's amazing. Parkouring around the city feels great. But then like, but then all this stuff to just get better, like you have to like you progress by increasing armor and all that stuff in that one, and it was like it was just tedious, and it just didn't. I didn't feel like playing the game. I just finished the story and then I was done with the game because I was like, this is not worth my time. While I think recently they finally figured out, oh, let's just pepper it with certain things, and then it got better. And I think Origins was when it finally was like, hey, we can have these side quests that we've had before somewhat, but treat it like Witcher in that these side quests actually have a story. So it actually became more, instead of just fetching and going to this area, killing this guy, it became more like, oh, I actually felt like I was doing something, even though it's tasks along the way, but it's like, oh, you're still playing like a story type thing.
Yeah, there's like actual cutscenes and a side
Mhm.
quest instead of just following someone while they run
Yeah.
faster than you're walking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, it's just fun to see like how people are like, oh, this is gonna be so cool. And then like some people are like, no, go back. Like, I don't like the direction, which I mean, I don't blame them. I don't it makes sense. It doesn't the gripe I do have sometimes is it doesn't feel like an Assassin's Creed game.
You don't feel like an assassin. You feel just like a fighter, dude.
The biggest joke is always I mean, it's just more this one and I think Odyssey. You don't really have you can have a hood in Odyssey, but it's like an Origin. It's just like it's moving. It feels like it's moving away from that.
Well, especially they've tended to, at least in my mind, Odyssey was the biggest example of it wasn't really about assassins versus Templars either. They're going more into the lore of what the first civilization.
Yeah.
So like your character doesn't have a hidden blade.
Yeah, they don't. It's weird.
I do like how they're exploring their lore and stuff like that, though. Like,
agreed. That's cool.
That's what draws me in is just the fucking cool history and stuff.
Yeah.
I will say though, like, I think, and I'm not a game designer or anything, but I think like you have to make a choice in choosing whether or not having like a giant game, like an open world giant thing, will add to the game or detract from it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of factors that go into it, like what kind of atmosphere you're going for. Like for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, for the little that I have played of it, the openness of it all and how there's like, it's not like you're traveling for miles with like nothing to like for you to do, right? They have some stuff, but it all feels a little bit empty. But I think that adds to it in that that's kind of the atmosphere of the game, is like all of this stuff has already happened. You're waking up in the aftermath of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so it gives off this like peaceful yet kind of eerie feel. I don't know. I think like Breath of the Wild did like a really good job in using it like that.
Oh, versus like if a world is it's just empty. And it's
Yeah,
not meant to
versus
be.
like just having a big open world just for the sake of like being able to say it, like just for a marketing point or something else.
No, yeah, but I mean, I think with Assassin's Creed, they have the pride that most of the time when they do, they try to be as accurate as they can with certain parts.
Oh
So,
yeah, yeah.
I
No,
think that's one thing
yeah,
with that.
which is also really cool.
Yeah,
Wasn't it Origins that had the like
yeah, both. I think both Origins and
cinematic?
Odyssey has
Okay,
the what is it
They
called?
have
I
that
forgot.
that specific game mode. Yeah,
Yeah,
I can't
it's
remember.
like it's not called something. It's not museum, but essentially you just traverse the world. There's like no combat, and you can actually just
Yeah, they just have a
explore.
narrator talk
Yeah,
about
certain
landmarks and
things.
Yeah,
cities and
Yeah,
stuff,
which is
which is really cool.
super
yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Which I mean, apparently, I remember when Origins came out and they released that. A lot of, I think, historical professors were like, "No, this is actually really good." And I think I heard a story that one professor actually used Assassin's Creed Origins to like showcase when he was talking about Egypt. He would use that and
I
just
heard
show it.
about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it was that
And
accurate.
that's cool.
Yeah, but I mean, I was gonna say if you're hyped for this, I will say try Origins because that's when the Assassin's Creed like diverted to this kind of style of game.
Mm-hmm.
If you can play that or Odyssey, I think you'll be in the right mindset for what the next game will be. Because I kind of agree with Luke. I don't think it's gonna change. They're gonna build on top of what they have now, but I think it's still gonna be like an RPG. They're still gonna have like all these certain aspects that are built
Yeah,
up on.
they've already talked about some of the
Yeah,
RPG elements. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you can, and I personally like the combat more now because I didn't. Whenever you had to do the combat in the previous games, it was fun. And it was cool, like, just playing from, like, each one, it was cool to see, like, "Oh, I have this power to, like, just kill this mob of enemies." But then
Mm-hmm.
after a while, it felt like they just try that was, like, their thing, and every time a trailer came out, I was like, "Oh, it was just a montage of I'm killing 5 guys in a row."
Mm-hmm.
But and then in the game, it's like, "Okay, cool, I'm just doing the motions, and then, alright, get me out of here." That's what it felt like for me after a while.
Okay.
Whenever
Interesting.
combat did come up.
Yeah.
Because I do try to play stealth mode on that too, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
So, I think I just like the diversity.
I wonder if they're like all these RPG elements they're throwing in there are to um get to kind of like try and satisfy every type of player. So
Oh,
like
for sure.
satisfy the people who do want to do stealthy and satisfy the
Mhm.
people who also just want to fucking
Yeah,
like power trip or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I
Or
know,
just
like
want to play super aggro and loud.
right, right. Because I know as the game evolved, like, from, like, 1, 2, 3, and all that, it's
Uh-huh.
like they wanted to some people are like, "Oh, I just wanna, like, go in and, like, have combat and just do all this stuff and not just."
Mm.
Because I know back then it was more it was more difficult to, like, actually fight with your hidden blades, for instance. Like, if you land a hidden blade kill in melee combat, you were really good, quote unquote.
Mm.
It was just harder, and then eventually it just got easier. It's just like over time the game's changed up to this point, so
Yeah.
you take what you can get.
Here's a question.
Mhm.
It's way off in the future,
Uh-huh.
but so they've done
Oh,
Egypt, they've
ooh,
done the Civil War, they've
ooh,
done Vikings,
ooh,
they've done Britain.
ooh.
Where do you think they're gonna go next? Because they've done like There was the one Asian one,
Asian one.
the Asia one.
I think it was
Wasn't
a,
it
it was
in
a
Asia?
mobile one.
Yeah.
That was a
Or-
2.5D one. It was like a
Right.
side.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
Dude,
think they'll like go to Asia for like a full
Dude,
3D one?
I honestly
or-
feel like the whole people have been talking about this, I think, since Assassin's Creed 2, where
Yeah.
we want Assassin's Creed in Japan because ninjas and samurai and assassins.
Right.
To
the
me, that's
longest
going to
time.
be the Final Fantasy VII remake emergency push the button thing
When
for Ubisoft.
Assassin's Creed's
yeah,
gone
like when
downhill.
Assassin's Creed's dying, or they're just out of ideas. They're like, Assassin's Creed Japan, here you go.
Just keep it in the back pocket.
Yeah, just because they've been fans have been clamoring for that for what, a decade now.
Oh yeah, a
And so
decade
they,
now at
they
this
know,
point.
like as soon as they announce it, everyone's going to be excited.
I
I don't think it's going to be specifically in Japan for a while.
right. I would be interested to see like now that they've just as kind of like a curveball because they've been doing like history a bunch. I want them to kind of do like something in the future, like go more sci-fi with just a curveball.
I think they would have to touch
Complete
on.
opposite for me.
Yeah, I don't want that either. Actually, if
really?
if they do that, they have to test it out and do like the whole when you get out of the animus. This is the whole. I think that'd be cool as like you're out of the animus experience, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
But
the
not the whole
assassins
game.
actually like are, I guess, the assassins are like as like a we're fighting back kind of thing. I don't know. I think it'd be cool to see them do like a sci-fi.
Partly because a big reason I like the Assassin's Creed franchise is because I like to see historical places. I think you go because even with
It becomes Splinter Cell.
Syndicate, where just the city design just isn't as interesting.
Yeah.
A lot of the spectacle I feel like of Assassin's Creed gets lost in modern day because a lot of the cities are the same. You can't really imagine someone in modern day just scaling up a building.
Yeah. Because they did
that's
touch
why I
it.
meant like sci-fi, not like modern day.
So you want like
Splinter Cell.
Like cyberpunk.
so you want like gravity
24/7,
boots and jetpacks and stuff.
Not necessarily. They can fill the world with I don't know whatever, but just in that setting. I just think it'd be cool to see something like that. But that's just me.
It might just be on this. No, I think I'm in the same boat as Luke. I kind of want to see more historical stuff. If they do Japan, if they ever freaking do Japan, that'll be the hilarious, most hype thing. People are gonna lose their minds.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish because they did. Yeah, you're right. You brought up China. Like they did China technically. They did Russia technically, and like an India one. But those were all like the side-scrolling ones.
Right.
And I
See,
really.
what this is a stupid idea, but you know how because they're tying into more of their in-game lore of the first civilization.
Yeah.
And they explain away, like with Odyssey, spoilers for Odyssey, that like the mythological creatures are basically corrupted first civilization tech. What if they turn into like the Fate series, where you go to ancient Babylonia and you meet Gilgamesh, and he's this crazy first civilization warlord, and he just has his giant spinny sword, and you're just stupid idea.
No, it's funny that you mentioned Babylonia because I think my brother was looking on Reddit and then someone, because this was announced, they're like, oh, they should look into these settings. And like the number one for that guy was Babylon.
That'd be super cool.
And I was like, that'd be cool.
Babylon, you could do India, South America, Australia would be really funny. But Australia has like a very short time period where it's interesting and then it becomes modern. I mean, they kind of tease it with Odyssey, but like if you imagine if they set it in Atlantis, like Atlantis in its heyday.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
They did. I don't think they've done an Asian one straight up, like
No.
Asia or Middle East.
Not
No, they
a-
touched Middle East, but they haven't touched.
Not
Yeah,
India
Asia.
specifically.
Yeah,
Or like there's multiple time periods in India where it could be
Yeah.
interesting.
scratch
Mhm.
Middle East. They've done Middle East. I'm dumb.
Because I remember
Oh,
in
God.
in
Yeah.
Revelations, they were in Turkey.
Turkey. Yeah,
I don't remember.
I mean,
I-
even the first one was
I don't know.
pretty close to that
Yeah,
area.
the first one was
Yeah,
like
during the
it was
Crusades.
Yeah.
during the Crusades.
Where's Damascus?
That's Middle East. I could have sworn.
But like
Yeah.
what? Which
I just
part?
remember where.
Oh,
Is it
Syria.
Syria. That's what it was.
Hmm.
Where was our relations? It was.
Going back to the trailer,
trailer.
just wanna call bullshit on one part of that trailer. Everything else is awesome. There's one part where like the super like, oh, I'm a tough knight. I'm gonna go kill this Viking dude. The Viking dude stabs his sword through the dude's hamstring, like out the side of his kneecap, and the dude just pulls it out and
Just
he
walks
like
it off.
he that's not right. That's
I mean,
not
there's-
historically accurate.
there's
A
a lot
sword
of
going through. He would be on the
things.
ground crying. He would be crying.
It's just like the world where they have the apple eaten like everywhere.
Like
I just-
people are also giving the game the trailer flack because that scene where the Vikings start raiding a village and the main character Ivor spares the woman and child.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Oh,
that
yeah.
wouldn't happen.
No.
Like people
I
are,
wouldn't.
I think, rightfully worried that they might, because it's the same thing with Black Flag, where it was obviously during the golden age of piracy, but pirates were seen as overwhelmingly positive. People fear the same thing with Valhalla, where they make the Vikings overwhelmingly positive,
Oh, I
and
bet.
they make I can't remember the king.
Oh,
They make him the
King-
bad guy.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
the writers have said like it's not going to be so black and white. Like there's going to be a lot of gray areas.
Oh, interesting.
So
yeah,
'cause
I think they
like
said they're
historically that king was considered a good king.
Yeah.
yeah, he
Or
was like
he was at least more good than bad.
Mhm.
But
I mean they called him something. What was it? Oh my god, something the Great. I can't
it
remember.
was it was something with an A in the great. But
I don't want to say
I mean, you kind of have to, because like, if you show you're the main character dude killing a child, it's kind of like that. There's no,
no coming back.
yeah. I feel like that you have to make them redeemable in some way, or like
Eh,
likable in some way.
Alfred the Great.
Alpha.
There you go.
That's it.
Alfred the Great.
Yeah, I'm excited.
But yeah, no, it looks super awesome.
The
I'm
game
excited
looks
too.
good. At some
remember-
point, maybe they'll do another Stadia test and I'll get it for free again. But
Oh my god, at this rate, I ain't touching Stadia with a 10-foot stick. Oh, sorry, 6 foot with standards.
I gotta
Social distance.
distance yourself from Stadia.
But that's pretty hype.
Yeah.
Yeah, May 7th. I'm excited.
May 7th. Oh, that's right. Oh, wait. Oh yeah, next week. Yeah. Time is
Time is nothing.
nothing right now.
Yeah, before I fucking knew it, April was over. It's wild.
I a momentary
It's
question. I was like,
almost
what are you
summer.
talking about?
Yeah, it's almost summertime.
Yeah. Wild.
Anyway, so hyped for that. But I guess we'll see the gameplay next week. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Thursday. Gotta tune in on that.
Tune in.
But I think with that, before we get into the topic, let's take a quick break.
Yeah, we get some water. Go pee. Do a thing.
Y'all
We'll
can
be
do that
back in a
too.
little bit.
Be right back. And we're back from our break. How was your back from break game?
Oh, it was good.
good?
It was
Yeah?
good. I poured some water.
All right,
in
anyway,
more ways
so
than
we-
one.
Damn it.
It was good.
I asked for this. Anyway, moving to the topic. So
Lead us
today,
on. Lead us on.
leading on. So today, it was more kind of brought up because Destiny dropped like an update. They just address a lot of stuff as always every Thursday. But I just started thinking about how that works. I was just kind of curious with games nowadays. It's obviously different on how some games change over time, and it's kind of hard to explain, but I guess it's like I was just kind of curious what you guys think in regards to games nowadays versus before. Because before I felt like it was more static, quote unquote, where the game was always just it came out of the box and that's what you got.
It's the complete
It is
package.
a complete package. The game went gold. That's it.
Mm.
While now it feels like a lot of games, and this is now games are considered more dynamic in my opinion. And dynamic mean like not saying like, oh, this game has an update, like, oh, it just needs a bug patch. Like I'm not talking about that. It's like, for instance, like a lot of MMOs or like Destiny, for instance, like every time a new season happens, something changes. They make some new stories or they add some new like gameplay, but it's always changing over time. So
Mm.
it becomes more of a platform versus just like, oh, I'm going to play this game from start to finish and then I'm done.
Right.
So I guess, for instance, I guess with Destiny, I keep bringing Destiny because it's the first thing that I heard recently, and I think it kind of makes a good point in that people were complaining about how the game just has nothing to do, even though they've added every time there's a new season right now, they add new stuff, but it's not new stuff that the community likes. So the developers always kind of come about and address it every other week and just touching on like they just kind of touch on certain things. And I feel like nowadays community the gaming the gaming community has more of a say in where some games go, like the direction that they go, and the
Yeah.
developers sometimes just kind of cater to them. Do you guys think that's a good thing or a bad thing, first of all?
Ooh.
Is it okay? I guess is it okay for a developer's work? So like if a developer makes a game and it's like this is how the game should be played, but over time players just complain about how this works, and then eventually the game could just change completely compared to how it came out like let's say a year ago.
Mm.
Is it okay for us as a consumer to just drive how a game should evolve if it can? Or even that applies to Assassin's Creed also. Like over time, people sometimes just complain about certain things, and eventually the next game started changing certain things. Like
Mhm.
I'm sure, like with
Like later on the
Kojima.
line, what if more people agree with Luke and they're like,
Yeah,
"Oh, this RPG thing is kind of
I
boring
mean
now."
that's
And
that was half the fan base for Odyssey. Like half of the
oh,
community
really?
was just like, "This sucks," which I mean, I
Ah,
get it.
yeah. Hmm.
So what do you guys think?
God, man. Like the thing when you bring this up, the like immediate thing that I think of is the Sonic movie and how
Yeah.
basically public opinion completely changed the look of it or the
Don't you
look of
think that was a
Sonic.
marketing scheme, bro?
And maybe I don't fucking all the conspiracies and stuff. I don't know, but whether or not that's good, I think it depends on the game and what your game is. So if your game is like a continuing service type thing,
Mhm.
where like Destiny or World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy, uh, 14 is the online one, right?
14.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
If it's something like that, um, versus something that's more, like you said, a more static game where it's like they build the game,
Like
it's finished, it's done, and they send it out.
yeah, like God of War. Like God of War when
Yeah,
it released, that was it.
right.
Like my take will be a little. I don't want to say different. It's going to be, I guess, a little more internal,
Mhm.
because obviously I worked in the game industry for a while.
Yeah.
One of the big things in design that's always stressed, not just from like other designers, but like you have very successful people in the game industry writing books
Mhm.
about how to make a video game. And one of the big things they always stress is know your audience. And so it's partly up to the developer to like already head off and cut off before it already happens a lot of the complaints your game will have. And it's different for single player and multiplayer games. Like in a single player game, um, most single player games to me have a very like strong narrative focus,
Mhm.
and so the consumer, the player, the gamer, isn't going to have, or in my mind, shouldn't have a huge sway in how the game should feel, because it's obviously the developers wanted the game to be this way. So if you, for instance, the main character is a female and you don't like playing as a female, that's not their fault. The game is meant to be played from female's perspective.
Mhm.
Multiplayer though is a completely different story, because obviously there's balancing issues and all that. To me, I think it's still important to listen to what your community is saying, but they really shouldn't be the end all be all.
Mhm.
Especially, I'm going to use games as a service as an example,
Right.
because most games as a service tend to have the core gameplay loop is always the same,
Mhm.
where new content drops, you need to get new stuff, like all new gear, all new weapons, so you can do the end game content, whether that be a raid or a dungeon or like the 40-man raids, 80-man raids, whatever. And when people complain about stuff like that, it's usually for garbage reasons, where,
Mhm.
oh, this is too hard, or oh, this is too easy, or I want this to be faster. I want this specific thing. I think as a whole, gamers want to not, they want to be challenged without being challenged when they play games. And
Mhm.
so the expectations of most gamers is not very high, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because
Like,
it
it's like the
also, like, especially in multiplayer, you tend to get a lot of vocal minority people.
right. Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
generally, I'm being very broad, but if someone is enjoying your game, they're not going to go out of their way to be like, this game is great. I like this game because XYZ. They're just going to play the game.
Right.
If the game is
Yeah.
bad or they think it's bad, people will go bananas trying to convince everybody that it's bad. And that, like, I'm not exempt from that either.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So the developers have to be very careful about who they listen to.
Yeah. I think you're kind of like having to balance the direction that you're trying to go and the just like the public opinion about it. I agree with Luke in that the type of game, the like single player story driven narrative games, those are more of a like the people making the game obviously have like an intended experience that they are creating.
Mhm.
And so like I don't want to have a say in that almost. Like if I mean obviously if they show off their game and they're like this is what this is and I'm like, "Oh wow, that looks really cool. I want to play it as it's been designed, as it's been intended." Versus being like, "Oh, I don't like how this movement," and if it's something that detracts from it enough, like it's on me to like stop playing it, you know? Like I'll be
Mhm.
like, "All right, I didn't enjoy this too much."
Yeah, like there's a really fine line you have to ride where you're either a garbage developer or you're God's earth or God's gift to earth in terms of game dev. Because as an example, Riot Studios, who their big game is League of Legends, it was a huge meme maybe like a month or two ago where they were talking about in one of their patch notes, I think, that our balance team has a combined 200 years of experience in game balance, so we know more than you. And their balance is, for
Oof.
a lot of people, they think balance is one of the worst things about the game.
That's a very funny statement because one, how big is your your team?
That's
Like if
combined.
it's 200 years combined of like 50 people, it's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
They each have like 2 so years.
And because
Right.
that's also a lot of people
3, 4
will call
seasons.
out Riot for bad balance.
Mhm.
And you hear this a lot with multiplayer games and like competitive multiplayer games in general. Is do you even play the game you make?
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
for the vast majority, I think Riot's I don't want to say necessarily balancing, but a lot of people who work for Riot
Uh-huh.
aren't very highly ranked. Like they're
Mm.
probably
they're
what you
like
consider bad at the game.
Mhm.
So in terms of League of Legends, who do you listen to? The person who is bad at the game or someone who is legitimately the top 200, like top 200 players in the game? And there's both sides to, because like what I was saying before, that top 200 player might just want the game to be easier for them specifically.
Mm. Mhm.
Hey, I'm a Teemo one trick. You need to buff Teemo so he does 500 true damage. Like, yeah, that's stupid. Why would I ever do that? Or
God.
Teemo is super oppressive. I can't beat his shrooms. When he puts down a shroom, he takes away 10% of his life. It's like, yeah, they're both stupid. And so trying to balance who to listen to is
Yeah.
hard.
It's
And but
God.
I think it's more important to default to just answering your question broadly
Mhm.
is the studio should know better. So they should default to the studios. It's I think very rare where you find the community one is correct about what they want and two actually know how to fix the problem.
Mhm.
Hmm. I
But what
well,
about
you haven't answered your own question. Just out of curiosity, what is your take on it, Harrison?
I
Before I start blabbing.
because I've
Hair
thought about it
covers.
for a while.
Mhm.
But I
Covers.
think just from my personal experience, just because I think the only game that I play that's been actually evolving, the most recent two were always Overwatch and Destiny.
Mhm.
Those ones that like I would say I invested the most time that like I paid attention to patch notes and like
Gotcha.
looked for changes and wanted to keep up with like what's the meta, how should or not like that I want to be a meta slave, but it's just know what I'm
Right.
going up against.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
what do I need to just pay attention to? Like right now, for instance, Destiny is like it was supposed to be like it's kind of like the auto rifle meta, for instance. And like I remember for Overwatch, it kept changing to like, oh, these are the team comps that you need to pay attention to. And so with that, sometimes I think it depends. I think mostly for multiplayer games, sometimes it is important to pay attention to what the community feels because at the end of the day, I think it is kind of important in that they're the ones playing your game and they can easily just drop you. So is it I but it's kind of hard. It's a weird gray area, but I think sometimes what if the community because you like a developer when they make the game, sometimes it's like, oh, you made this game, this is how you view it, but the moment you release it, you don't notice how all these things could go bad, right?
Right. Yeah.
So what if
I mean, they play
how
test
you would
a lot, but
yeah,
like,
but what I mean, you can
how
say that
much can you prepare for stuff?
yeah, how much yeah, you can't I don't think you can prepare too
You can
much.
never prepare enough.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
yeah,
not possible.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it just depends. Of course, it depends, but I think most time, what if the community is right? But this is my
Yeah.
personal experience too. Just because, like,
Sure.
if you notice, like, for instance, Destiny, it's just a bounty grind. Like, you're just playing as it feels like a chore to play Destiny because all you're doing is just completing bounties to upgrade your level. But how fun is that? You're just
Mhm.
kind of checking off lists. And once you do all of it for the day, you're done.
Yeah.
Am I playing these activities because I like it? If
Yeah.
it's with friends, maybe. But, but,
I
mm,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, it's like, I think the Bungie like addressing that bounties are like kind of a issue right now. It's just nice to
Uh-huh.
know,
Okay. Yeah,
but is that
kind of
enough?
going off from that, and this might just be because I'm someone who's easier to please and like someone who's not hypercritical. as long as kind of like what you were saying about like, so the bounty's like it wasn't fun to you to do that, right? Which is a main problem in the game because the game in its essence should be fun to
Yeah.
play,
Yeah.
or stimulate you in a certain way that
Yeah.
makes you continue to want to play the game. It is like I think a balancing act that they have to do of like listening to the community and also like listening to the people who are playing their game, and then deciphering like who in that community should we listen to, like the long
Yeah.
time players, or like is it just like a vocal minority that's just come in and then leave after a few months or something like that,
Right.
and then balancing that with what are we like, what are we trying to create here, what is our direction, and it's like balancing that. I think as long as it's fun for me, then I'm okay. Like
I mean, that's
for you were
important.
talking about Overwatch earlier.
Yeah.
Like as long as your characters that you've created are fun to play, I guess I don't really care too much if there's like a meta. Like if I'm seeing the same champions over again, or like if only what, obviously if you have like 10 out of 100 out of 100 heroes or champions or whatever you want to call them, if you have 10 out of 100 that are good, that's probably pretty bad design, pretty bad balancing. But I mean, if the characters that are the ones that are being played are fun, then I'm cool. Like I
Oh,
don't,
yeah.
yeah.
And I guess wait, did you want to add anything else, Luke? Because I don't remember if we like.
I was just going to say, I mean, I don't think we've really touched on if which one you guys prefer, if you do have a preference on games as a service
Yeah.
or just a released game.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because for me, like, unless we want to talk about anything else, I was going to talk about that.
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah, going back to the original. Technically, that's the original topic. So I
Oh,
guess
was it?
yeah, it's like static versus dynamic. We started
My
just
bad.
talking more about my question was, do you guys think that's okay to like
Yeah,
be
should you listen
changing?
to your
And I was going
community?
to round it back out to
Got
with like just like for instance, most time a static game is mostly just single player, and
Mhm.
it's just self-contained.
Gotcha.
Not saying it's linear. I'm just saying like it's just most time you don't have to update it too much. It's not like ever changing over time, right?
Sure.
Like God of War, you play that story, you get what you get.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess just adding on to that though, because I'm also curious on this. So with a static game, for instance, I know with Shadow of Mordor back then, people like playing that game, but then there's a point that when you finish, people were like, "Oh, I want it to be a little bit more difficult because I didn't get all the abilities I wanted by the end. Can we add a new game plus?"
Mm.
And at the time, or at least Shadow of Mordor, I don't think the team did. They're like,
Mhm.
"No, this is how we intended the game to be. We
Mhm.
want you to feel like you earned all these skills over time, and by the end, you feel like a badass."
Gotcha.
While with God of War, for instance, you could play through the entire story, and then you can actually do a new game plus run.
Right.
They added that later, but I
Mhm.
think they're already intending to do so. It seemed like.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
it didn't seem because I think people are like, "Oh, where's New Game Plus?" They're like, "We're gonna probably it's in the works. We've been thinking about it, and then they released it." But I'm pretty sure it was already kind of in the works that they were gonna do so.
Mm.
So with that, for instance, because there's not too many from what I was looking right, there's not too many things to like just point out. Oh, these are things in static games versus there's a level that's game breaking that's not fun anymore. Like,
Right.
is that something they should change, or is it
Like
meant,
single
or
player
should it?
balance, you mean?
Yeah, it's like for instance, like this part of the level is so hard for me to get past. I just want to finish the story or just want to get past this part. Should the developer should the developer like patch that?
Nah, get good, son.
Yeah, no. Like
Or what
specifically
about
with
like God
single
of War?
player.
Oh, sorry.
I was saying specifically with single player. Um, I don't think like unless it's obviously a game breaking bug, developers really shouldn't touch the game. Like especially when it's kind of two sides of the same coin.
Mhm.
Where I'm going to use Horizon Zero Dawn as an
Okay.
example,
Yeah.
where there's a certain point where the game is just trivialized. If you want to make the game easy, you make it easy, because there's certain skills that Aloy can get where if you jump in the air while looking down your bow, then time slows down,
Mhm.
and it honestly it makes the game brainless because you have so much time in the air to
Mhm.
aim and take your shots, and you don't take damage.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's super easy. Um, and I mean, if you want to play, like it's a single player game, it doesn't affect anybody, and it's honestly up to you if you want to play that way.
Okay.
And so, if there's something in the game that makes it super easy, leave it in. Like if someone wants to play that way, they can play that way.
Mhm.
And on the reverse side, like if it's too hard, then I honestly put the blame on the player, almost especially only in a single player game, because single player is so much easier to quality control and test and play and get feedback on.
Mm.
Where if it was honestly too hard, I would say it would have been caught already
Right.
during game development. Like I honestly can't think of a released game where something was so hard they had to fix it.
Yeah.
So
I
what
mean, you have like
about?
a game like Ninja Gaiden, and that's like touted as like
Yeah,
just
But I
some
think that's on
fucking
purpose, though.
hard game. Right.
Like,
Yeah. And so I'm saying like you have something like as hard as that, and people
Mhm.
are still fine with it for like it has a reputation, but it's
Mhm.
like people still play the game.
Yeah. So what about? I remember there was this issue with Assassin's Creed Odyssey where there's a point that the game became too grindy and that you couldn't progress the story because you weren't high enough of a level. But a lot of players were saying this is too grindy. It takes me so long to just get past this point.
Mm.
Well, you can conveniently buy our 50% XP increase for $5.
Yeah, I
Like
mean, and would
being
you say that's an issue though?
semi-serious, that's probably what they want.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
100%.
But I mean, if it's too grindy, like that doesn't necessarily make the game harder. It just makes it more tedious. And yeah, the game's tedious, and there are super complex reasons why a game would be like that. But
Mhm.
I wouldn't like if they said like, no, we're not going to change it. I'm not going to be upset. Like it's
But like, if you know, like they did it just to like fill up time, for instance, it's like, oh, this
oh,
is
like
just kind
just
of
like
our way
padding
to,
time, padding
yeah,
game time.
yeah, adding game time, for instance.
Uh,
Like I know, like for instance, Ian talked about like I remember him playing what was it, Final Fantasy 13, 1 or 2, whatever. And you said there's a point that it just became super grindy, and
Uh,
like you're almost done with the story. I think it was 13. I think maybe, and you were
really?
like, maybe I didn't play him on. I didn't finish 13 even, but you're. I remember you talking about part of the game where you're like, oh, it became super grindy.
Really? Okay. Dude, it's been
This was
so
a
long
while.
I don't
It's been that
remember.
long too. But like,
Yeah.
I just remember you
Also,
complaining about.
I've tried to like blur those memories out also. So,
I will forever bring up how Ian Eatwell played. Like, you stuck with Final Fantasy 13 for a good bit. I was like, hell yeah. But
dude, no, I don't want to get into it. Listen, I spent 140 hours on the first game, and then 2 came out, and it's like, oh, and then 3 came out, and I just broke. I didn't even touch it. I'm so sad. I'm so sad. But now I'm healed. It's
it's
all good.
like it's weird to me. Um, like I'm gonna since you were talking about Odyssey, I want to use Odyssey
Mhm.
as another
Yeah, yeah,
example where
yeah.
like
Mhm.
yeah, you hit these weird walls where you're not leveled high enough, and so you're soft locked where we're gonna pad time so you can't progress the main story, so you just have to play our game a different way, like
Mm.
doing all those side quests. Because from what I understand, like after having watched some pretty long um, gameplay sessions,
Mhm.
it's not like where you're mindlessly like, oh, I have to keep killing this thing over
Mhm.
and over.
Right.
It's like, okay, I can't do the main story. I'll go to a different island and do this island storyline. It's like it's always like you're always progressing some way. It's just not
Mhm.
necessarily the main story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in that case, like, no, that's not the developer's fault.
But that's
Like,
what if that's not how the
Some
person wants to play?
well, some then they would maybe they just don't play that game
yeah, the game's not for you then.
because I think some like a lot of games like JRPGs specifically use that as like that's a feature of like that anyone who knows JRPGs knows that they're going to get into some grindy shit, you
The
know?
grindiest
Yeah,
shit
because
ever.
like
Yeah.
that's like someone new to Persona 5 wanting to play just the main story and not wanting to do like the social links and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can do that, but like it's not the developer's fault you didn't want to do those because they
Yeah.
take a lot of time, they take a lot of resources, but it's in the game for a reason.
Mhm.
A point in the other side or
Yeah.
different perspective um is since I've been playing a lot of these like Moonlighter and Hollow Knight and Ori, um what else? Slay the Spire, like a lot of indie devs like that will kind of stick around and update and patch their games a little bit. And from at least from what I see on like Steam and stuff like that, it seems like people actually really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, the dev actually like isn't just churning out a game; he's actually like making it and then making sure that it is also enjoyed, I guess, to like its fullest extent or to a greater extent. I don't know. But yeah, it's seen as a positive in that a
Yeah.
dev will update a game even after it's done. Like Hollow Knight, I think it has had a few patches in it.
Yeah,
I
I
was gonna
think
say, I think
like using your example, Slay the Spire for me
Yeah.
is the
Mhm.
biggest positive because he adds a lot of new stuff and he
Yeah.
does change a lot of game balance, but it's always because it's a
But it's
single
good.
player game, you
Mhm.
don't feel any worse for it.
Mm.
Like things become harder, things become easier, but it's not so different that you
Mhm.
just can't play the way you used to. You just have to be more careful.
Yeah. And I guess it's for that example specifically, it would be like how do I improve the experience without making the player feel like I had to dumb it down for them, right? Or how do I improve it without making them feel like cheated out of, like a really hard fight or something like that, and also like make it playable. I mean, yeah, just balance. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah. See,
how do
like
you?
that's where like in single player, I think they just really shouldn't touch the games. It's games as a service where they should start touching those things like pretty seriously.
Yeah.
Mm,
Um, like I'm gonna pick on Destiny because it's kind of lately infamous for having weird weapon bugs
mm.
where some are really fun and some are just so incredibly broken that
Forever.
they trivialize the entire game.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like it's in that weird spot where a lot of the weapon changes affect PvE only. And so does it really matter? Not really. Like you're not impacting another player negatively. Yeah, unless for the fact they want to play the game the way it's meant to.
Mhm.
But like the Wish Ender bug was a really fun bug, but
That was
they
a fun
changed it and
one.
now it's probably fair because it trivializes content.
Mhm.
It did. Yeah.
Where like Bungie did the right thing. I mean, they were really slow about it, but they stepped in and changed the game. Same with the 0 hour
The
heroic,
0 hour
where
heroic.
they finally fixed it,
Mhm.
and it
And it's a
sucks.
bitch.
Yeah, it sucks because now it's hard,
It's super
but
hard.
like they want it to be hard. It's supposed to be,
It's
and
supposed to be. Yes.
same thing. We're like, yeah, heroic is hard. We're not gonna make it any easier because you can't
Yeah.
do it. You need to be
Mhm.
better
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
because that would like people complain like, oh, it's too hard. It's like in the context of a raid, do you want us to remove raid mechanics? No, you
You want to
learn
just
to
give me
play
the
the
boss
game.
and like just go at it?
Yeah. So
What about
Yeah.
So what about speaking of like, oh, it's too difficult? When like I've seen some games where they've had a game and I've seen some communities complain how it's super difficult. So then the developer caters to that and they add like a story mode, like that level where it's just like, oh, you just experience the story and not have to worry about combat as much, like
Has
almost
that
at all.
happened?
Yeah,
there
I
are
can't
a
remember the
couple of I know like there is I don't mean God of War has their easy difficulty.
Yeah,
It's not as easy
but that
as
came out of
some
the
of the
box
difficulty
too.
sliders, but it's
Yeah,
pretty easy.
Right, but that was like on release
that was on
was
release.
available.
Oh, you're talking about like after the fact?
Yeah, yeah. Because I
Um,
think there was a couple. It was a while back, and it wasn't like huge games that were like, "Oh, this is insane," but it's like, "Oh, they added a easy mode, like even easier, like baby mode, essentially."
There's
Or maybe it's more. The original game had difficulty, and then the sequel added like that kind of thing. But that was thought about in the sequel, so that means someone's complained about it enough in the original that the developers actually had to think about it when they developed the second one.
was that Death Stranding that did that?
Was it?
I don't know if
No,
they
I think
added it.
no, I think they had it.
Yeah, I think it was just in the game.
Knowing
So,
Hideo Kojima, he just wanted to like make a movie.
well,
So
yeah,
I'm
because
sure.
they had very easy mode. I just can't
Yeah.
remember if they added it after. Or
No,
not.
I think they had it already.
I
They
cannot
announced
think of a
it.
single game that has added
Could've
post-release
sworn.
and easy mode.
Could have sworn. Maybe I'm remembering things wrong. But I guess if a developer did do that, would that be okay?
Yeah, I mean,
Because it's not hurting the game.
like
It's not
single
hurting
player
the
games, developers, in my mind, have almost free reign to do. They could do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Like if they
Agreed.
want to have instant death mode or invincibility mode, like I don't care. It's single player.
I mean, that's when cheats come about. It's like you just play GTA just to input all the cheats, and it's just hilarious.
And like some people just want to play a video game to experience the story, and that's completely fine.
Mod the shit out of Skyrim. Have fun with it.
Exactly.
No, yeah. I think the issue is always just more with dynamic, like just like games as a platform. I think that's where the big issues are, where there's always more of a community that there's a following.
Yeah, there's. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, I was just saying that. Yeah, there's a following, and sometimes the developer kind of listens too much and changes in accordance to like the vocal minority.
Yeah,
I think I still kind of think I think I just have like this mentality of what if they're right, like. But that's in my experience. It's like, oh, most time it is just kind of something the community notices that, yeah, this is an issue. Maybe we need to rebalance this.
like I would say most communities they always have like the nugget of truth,
Mm.
but so many ridiculous fixes get thrown out where it's kind of hard to like, yeah, you guys are right, but you need to stop acting like morons and actually give a right answer.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
Like using, I know Division 2 right now, the developers, it's either massive or massive entertainment. They're under a lot of flack from specifically the Division subreddit because they nerf stuff. Maybe that was unjustified or not, but some of the things people are wanting are insane. It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, like you generally feel underpowered compared to NPCs, but that doesn't mean that you should have infinite gadgets. It should like you just need to tone numbers.
Mhm.
Especially when you get into when the game platform has multiplayer, competitive and multiplayer or cooperative. That's like a whole nother mess. Because especially with I feel competitive games, that's where it's really hard to you can't not listen to your fans, but you also have to know what's at stake.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, balancing multiplayer is
It's a never ending
yeah.
hellhole.
Yeah, I imagine. But it's also like
No one's ever gonna be
that's
happy.
gonna make or break
with
your
that.
game though. Like if you're bad if it's bad enough, it'll make or break your game for sure. If you can get it to like a certain par, like a certain level. Yeah. I was looking this up because I didn't want to like just talk out my ass about this. But kind of going back to the whole Hollow Knight things, just since I'm playing it right now, something that I was curious about, because I know they've had like updates to the build and stuff like that. But a way to that I think is really cool, a way to like a way to change the game after it's released, but without, or actually, I don't know if these updates were after it was released. It was just during the builds, but I'll just get to the point. Is they have these things in Hollow Knight called charms, and the charms give you like an ability or add an effect on top of an ability you already have, or like there's one that so you find like a map in the game, right? And it's like the map of the actual game, the overworld or whatever. And there's a charm that lets you see where you are in the map, because otherwise you'll have to like navigate yourself, right?
Yeah, it just gets where you are. Right.
And you don't get that charm just automatically.
No, you have to buy
You
it,
have
right?
to buy it, not with like actual money. It's like all in-game stuff, but like you collect I don't know what they're called, but you collect coins from like
It's the
people
in-game
you kill.
currency.
Yeah, basically. And then you can buy these charms, and then these charms do different things for you. And so they've added a few throughout the build. They've added some charms that kind of make like a quality of life better. But you can play, it gives you the option to play like super hardcore mode where you have to figure out where you are in the map without like having a little icon show you, and you have to remember the layouts of where all these other things are without having icons there too, and stuff like that. And so I don't know, I think that's a really cool way to make it more accessible, make it for some more casual people.
Yeah.
The easy babies. But also a way like it gives you the option to choose, like, do I want to make this fucking difficult, or do I want to like just have fun and just play with this? And like how much do I like what would entertain me? And it gives you like some flexibility with that, which is just, I think it's a really smart dev move, to be honest.
Like it's like increasing and decreasing the difficulty without actually changing the game too much. Right.
Yeah. Because like you'll have like, I don't know, like say the game comes out and players are like, oh, there's no like marker on the mini map. Oh, that's so dumb. And then they'll be like, all right, well, here you can do this thing. You kill like 5 people to get enough money to buy this thing, and there you go. And people will be like, oh, cool. And then the people who don't like that will be like, I'll just play the way I was playing.
Yeah, I can choose not to. Yeah.
I just thought it was cool. I think it's a cool way to do that. I think you have to like kind of figure that out too.
Yeah, it took me a bit. I know what you're talking about. Like for me, it was I didn't know you had to buy the pins for a while, so I actually was just kind of playing blindly. I was like, damn, it's kind of weird. They don't tell you where you are. Oh, you can buy it.
Oh, you can, yeah, and I mean, and it's totally like you can do it though. Like it's totally valid to like not buy any of those pins and just play through it. But that's single player, and it's a lot different than like a multiplayer balancing type thing. So
yeah, that's pretty much all I got. And I like the more we talk about it, it became harder to like say, do I like games as a service or do I like static games? I think it's just more like what I look for in those type of games now.
yeah, historically, what I like, I don't think I like
one over the other.
One or the other, yeah. But historically, what I have done is I'll have one service type, quote unquote service type game that I'll play with like friends and stuff. And I'll like have that like kind of continuing on, and then the other like out of like the 100% of my gaming time, 50% is probably that, and then 50% is like single player stuff.
Single player.
So I have like a good balance of both, and I don't think I like one over the other. I think it's just different.
Like, what'd you look for?
Yeah.
I think the better games and the games I like more are always the complete or static games. I probably have more hours logged with games as a service, but
that's
it's
probably
mainly like, I mean, they're more fun because I can play them with my friends.
Yeah.
Single player games are obviously single player, but I think they're just better and I enjoy them more.
Yeah.
It doesn't help, like my favorite games are always like single player RPGs, so
I think for me, it's I like getting the most out of something. That's just something that's just as a joke. It's always been why I like open world, because it was so cool. You can get so much stuff done and blah blah blah. And now it's like, oh, I have so much stuff to do in this game. Oh no, it's a lot. Oh no, this might be too much. But I still like it. I stay in my cup.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I just like the progression, and when it comes to dynamic games or like games as a service, it's just kind of like it's never ending. But then there's that power creep, then there's issues with like just balancing out things over time anyway. But for some reason I always come back.
So do you have a one that you like more than the other?
I think I like seeing things change over time. Like it's just like me liking MMOs from the beginning. I like how this world's changing. This is affecting like how you've been spending all these hours in this game. All of a sudden it changed, and now you have to like there's new stuff to do, but it's still like the game. It's still like World of Warcraft.
It's It's like
although now
the world is changing and building upon itself.
Yeah, but although now you can legit call the old WoW classic WoW, and that's a level.
Yeah, right.
I guess how much do you like the change? But how much are you going to complain about it? Because people are going to complain about it, and then eventually they're just going to do something maybe in the next expansion, and they complain out, oh, why can't we just go back? But you wanted this in the first place. Yeah.
I think Luke made me second guess myself. I like the service games. I only do play with friends, so it is like a large part of that is like if we're comparing them, like, but I like the time that you spend with your friends, that I kind of put that in with it, right? Like it's inherent to the multiplayer experience.
Yeah.
But if we wanted to like strip, so I don't really like strip that away. But if I did, if I did, and it was just like playing this game and playing this game by myself alone, it would probably be the more like single player games that I would be, just because I think like how it works is that it's like, well, I guess that's not true. I was going to say that, like the narrative is like, I really enjoy narrative and storytelling, so that's like a huge part of like single player games and stuff like that. Or it's more paid attention to than like a multiplayer. Because in a multiplayer, the big thing that you have to think about is like, fuck, how do all these things work together and balance well together and stuff like that. So by myself, single player, with friends, multiplayer service, but like that's probably everybody. Yeah, I don't know.
You like games. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Play what you want.
We all like games.
We all like, at the end of the day, it's like games.
Yeah.
Just want to sit on my butt.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Same, dude. I'm going to sit on your butt, too.
Take me on. Wait.
All right, on that note.
On that note. All right.
I guess, yeah. We like games. We hope you like games. And
starting rambling.
Hit them with the socials.
Games. Yeah,
keep playing games.
Keep playing games. Just play all of them. Stay inside.
Harrison, hit him with the socials.
Thanks for tuning in. You can find us on Facebook at SuperBoss Podcast, and that's also the same on Instagram, Twitter, and I think we have YouTube, right, Ian?
Yep.
I point to Ian because he's the one I think made it.
Nothing's on it still. We're gonna figure that out.
We're working on it.
Working out.
So we got all this time. We'll figure it out. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Thanks again for tuning in, listening to us. Just talk about random shit as always. SuperBoss Podcast signing off.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Thanks for listening.